Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another EFL review by the fans for the fans. Tonight, I'm delighted that Colchester fan Si is back with us. Good evening, sir.
Evening.
And this time we're joined by, I hope, a relatively happy posh fan, Connor. Good evening, Connor.
Good evening.
Quick look at the leagues then. In League One, and we'll come to you in a second on this one, Connor. Hull, at time of recording, lead the way on 30 points, and they've got a game in hand on Peterborough, who are on 28. Lincoln, Portsmouth, Ipswich and Charlton make up the playoffs, but Accrington are only 1 point outside and are unbeaten in their last 5. Wigan are down the bottom on 8 points, 5 from safety, and 4 of the current bottom 5 are winless in their last 5. When we move into League Two, Newport are currently top on 29, 4 points clear of the playoffs. Salford complete the playoff picture, but they're only a point ahead of Leyton Orient. Southend kind of look doomed already, and I know it's too early to say that, but they're on just 5 points behind 3 clubs, all on 11 points. So, Connor, let's come to you. Flying start to the season, but in the group off camera, you said the traditional Christmas blip for Peterborough. Is the signs there that it's going to happen again?
I'd say so. When we played Crewe, we were pretty awful against Crewe, and then they went and got tonked by Portsmouth. So it was kind of are we going through that again? We looked a bit better at the weekend. I think it's just still, obviously, when you lose someone like Ivan Toney, it's very difficult to replace an Ivan Toney at this level. And whilst Johnson Clark-Harris is a good striker at this level, he's very different. He's not Ivan Toney. So it's getting Dembele and Schmodics and those that were playing with Toney last season to get used to the way Clark-Harris plays. He's a lot more physical and a lot less mobile than Ivan Toney was. So once we get used to that, hopefully. But yeah, we're partial to a Christmas blip. We were last year, and then we went on a run before the season was cancelled. So hopefully it doesn't happen, but I guess we'll see.
And is promotion the minimum expectation, or at the start of the season would you have been happy with a playoff spot, or how is it looking for you?
I think with Darren McAntony, promotion's always the target. Evans fell short of that, McCann fell short of that, and they ended up getting dismissed for that. Ferguson's been here 3 times now. He knows what the club's about. He knows what McAntony's about. And when you're spending over $1 million on Johnson Clark-Harris and Sammy Schmodics as well, it's got to be promotion at this level, hasn't it?
Away from Peterborough, who are you looking at in the promotion race there? Some of the teams I mentioned, obviously Hull currently top, Lincoln, Pompey, Ipswich, who we spent a little bit of time talking about last month. Who are you looking at there as your main threats? Is it the big names? Because I've not even mentioned the likes of Sunderland there.
I actually have Hull to win the league. I thought Hull will, because McCann knows this level. He's been here with us. He's been here with Doncaster. He did very well at Doncaster. I don't think they have a bad squad. I think Malik Wilkes and Keane Lewis-Potter are great players for this level. So I have them to win the league. I think Portsmouth, us, Sunderland will always be up there. Fleetwood are always worth a shout. Jerry Barton's got them playing some good stuff. Ipswich, I'm never sure about. They always seem to start well. Well, they did last season anyway, and then just absolutely tailed off. And I don't rate Paul Lambert as a manager at all. So I don't know, many Ipswich fans probably don't either. So I'm not really sure about them, but there's some good names. And then you get the surprise people like Accrington who are currently flirting around there as well. So
when you're so focused on what's going on at the top of the league, are you paying attention to what's happening down with the likes of Swindon down the bottom? Anyone surprised you with their poor starts?
I'm always paying attention because I always enjoy when Northampton are down there. So when I see them at the bottom of the league, it's quite nice. But I'm semi-surprised at Bristol Rovers. I know they lost Clark-Harris, but I figured they would kind of bring someone in and do a bit better than they have, but they haven't yet. Rochdale, whilst they're always kind of a struggler, I didn't expect them to be so far this season. So they're a bit of a surprise to me.
In terms of my own club, obviously Swindon had I'm disappointed. I think, Si, we've done, this is our second official one of these, but we've done other sort of trial ones. And I said at the start of the season, I was quite optimistic that we would be in and around the playoff picture come the end of the season. Obviously, Wellens has gone. It's not quite started the way we hoped. I'm concerned there's a lot of negativity. And I'm not sure the recent appointment, which again is something we'll come on to in a bit, has done much to enthuse the fans. But I'm still hopeful there's enough quality within our squad that we won't be firmly sucked into a relegation battle, but we need to start picking up points quickly. And our biggest concern is shambolic defending at times. I don't know if you ever see any of the goals in our games, but some of them are highlight reels in themselves in terms of how pathetic they are. So I'm hoping as of this weekend we'll start an upward trajectory back to where we should be.
Swindon were a bit ropey when we played them defensively, yeah.
Si, what's the story in League Two? Tell us.
So, up until Tuesday, League Two was going really quite well for us, and then we seem to have literally missed the bus to Exeter, and seemed to put out a team that hadn't played together. Defensively, shambolic. You talk about how bad some defending's been in League One. Well, if you've seen any of our highlights from that game, it wasn't pretty. So yeah, losing 6-1 to Exeter was quite a shock to the system. I always like to try and be very positive and think, glass always half full. Even I struggled to find anything positive, apart from the fact we did actually score a goal. So what I'm hoping is that we kind of take that as, right, a bit of a wake-up call that maybe everything's not going to be as easy as we thought. It's not all going to go swimmingly in. We haven't got a game this weekend, as we only seem to do FA Cup one round and then leave to everybody else to have a go. So due to that fact, we haven't got a game. So it's a week now. Come Tuesday, we've got our home, first of 2 home games, and then hopefully that will be a bit of a sort of a kick in the right direction. Other than that, up until the Exeter game, I thought last season was going fairly well. We were only 3 points off third place, plus got a game in hand because the Scunthorpe game was cancelled. Giovanni Brown's banging in goals for fun. Norris came off the bench and scored. They equalised against Mansfield, so it wasn't too bad. So I'm just hoping this is a bit of a blip. We dropped out the playoff places now, but to be fair to Steve Ball, the manager, Exeter did everything he could. He put players at half time, changed the system 4 times. The players just weren't there, and I'm just putting it down as a bit of a bad day, long journey, all that kind of thing. And then hopefully now it's a bit of a reset. One thing I would say is Mansfield looked a completely different side on Nigel Clough from what they would like at the beginning of the season. Cloughy coming in, he's completely revolutionised them. To be fair, it's with who his father was, I think he always has a bit of an unfair advantage. If you can't be a good manager after you've taken your father's footsteps, you might as well give up. But yeah, I think he taking a drop down, obviously, from where he was League One with Burton and stuff, to take on Mansfield. I think they're going to be quite dark horses, and I would not be surprised if they end up in the playoffs. Because
when we spoke,
still very early.
When we spoke last month, we said about some of the surprise names at the top of the league. Obviously, it was early doors, but when you look now, it's still the same team. So can it no longer be considered something of a surprise when you see the likes of Newport and Cheltenham and teams like that up there? Are they genuinely looking the article, or is it still too early to say, in your opinion?
I still think it's a little bit too early to say. But what League Two does tend to play up every season is you have who you think the favourites are, who are going to go down, etc., etc. And it always ends up sort of turning up in its head, and there are surprise articles that no longer become surprise articles and stay up there all year. Newport, I think it's going to be their promotion to lose at the moment. Not necessarily winning the league, but if they carry on the form they're in, with the squad they've got, and the sort of rotation they're doing well. I think what helps them is obviously everyone moans about their pitch when they go down there. They have to play on it every other week, and they play on it well. They've used it to their advantage. And what some people see as a negative, they take as very positive. And I think they're going to be thereabouts. Cheltenham have always looked good over the last couple of seasons. Obviously got bounced out of playoffs last year by Newport Northampton very surprisingly. Obviously Northampton ended up going up. So you can never really tell. Down the bottom, as much as it pains me to say, Southend are down. Well, I was saying that from day one, so don't really mind that one. I think what the problem they're going to have is they failed to field a team this weekend. Sorry, on Tuesday night. So that game was postponed, and it's one of these slippery slopes of how much leeway are they going to get within the EFL or before points start getting docked, or we do start going down the route of, look, if you can't provide a team, thank you, goodbye, kind of thing. Stevenage, to me, stayed up last year on technicality. Obviously, Macclesfield getting thrown out of the league like they did, so Stevenage cheeked it. I think that might be a season too far from this year, so they could all go down. But then there are other teams that could drop down there. Grimsby seems to be very hit and miss at the moment. Barrow and Harrogate have both started well, picking up points and playing well, but I think eventually they could their lack of experience in the Football League pyramid could see them tail off towards the end. So I think there's a few teams that could get sucked in and sucked up, if you like, towards the playoffs and to the automatics. But I think it's very much out of the 2 relegation spots now. Southend have firmly cemented theirs. It's now going to be a case of who else is going to go with them. Well, it is early in the season, but it's just one car crash followed by another. They seem to be disaster to disaster. So I think it's going to be not just become a Colchester fan, but I think almost the good of Southend for them to go down, to reorganise, maybe have a look at themselves, sort themselves out financially in the non-league system, and then maybe in sort of 10, 15 years' time, we'll let it back in to have another go.
Picking up on something you said there, since we last spoke, there's been a few managerial changes on that ever turning merry-go-round. So in terms of the League 2-1 side, what have you thought of? You've obviously mentioned Clough going in at Mansfield. Keith Hill's gone in at Tranmere, and also this week Cottrell, the change there as well. On top of that, we've also had in League 1 Sheridan obviously leave Wigan to come and join Swindon, and Tisdale joining Bristol Rovers as well. What's your thoughts been on some of those manager changes at your level, Si? And then I'll ask the same of Connor for League 1.
I think some of them have been quite surprising, especially the Clough one. Like I've already said about how I think he's almost too good to this level. So he must have a plan. He must buy into the project of what Mansfield have given him, what they've shown him, obviously what they must be offering him. So I think he'll do well. I don't think it'll be as easy as maybe he thinks it will be due to the nature of the league. But I do think Mansfield will do well if this season or potentially keep faith and go on to next year. Tranmere obviously did give Hill the good sort of audition for the job, waited for the good chance of Grimsby, then gave it to him. Salford's still the one I'm really not sold with about why they've changed their manager when they had a fairly good start, went on that run, and then suddenly decided to change managers. One thing I will say on the manager front, I do think COVID this year is going to be a bit of a life jacket for some managers, where clubs maybe want to get rid of managers but can't afford to, or are loath to, due to the fact that they don't know who they'll be able to get in, who they'll be able to afford to get in, things like that. And going back to my third favourite, Southend, really was, let's see who we can get, give them a young squad and see how they get on. So I think there's a few clubs that will be very similar. We maybe want to get rid of our manager, but we can't either afford to, or they can't afford to replace them with someone of a better quality, so we'll just stick with what we've got, sort of thing. So I think it'll be interesting to see as the season goes on.
I'm not sure if you would agree with this statement or not, Connor, but I'm always an advocate for, you kind of get a sense, you'll always form your own opinion of a manager, especially when they first come in. And they say there's no second chance to make a first impression, but you can always take from what the previous club's fans think when a manager joins. So, for example, Swindon fans were disappointed when Wellens left to join Salford. So Salford fans were very happy from what I saw on social media. Wigan fans were less than fussed when Sheridan left. And Swindon fans, as I alluded to earlier, are less than enthused by what they've seen since. When you look at that switch, and then you see things like Tisdale going in at Bristol Rovers, is it as clear as it looks to me who's potentially, at least on paper, made the better appointment there?
Yeah, I'd say so. But then I think there's a lot of doubt over whether the Tisdale can do it in League One. His MK side were atrocious last year. He's solid in League Two, isn't he? He was at Exeter for a long time, but he hasn't proved himself at League One at all. And I think Shrewsbury hiring Steve Cottrell was a very weird one. He's been out of the game, 2 years now, is it? Something like that. And after that awful stint he had at Birmingham. So how's he going to do? There's going to be some weird managerial signings, and I think it comes down to what Si said, where clubs don't necessarily know what they can afford, so they might just have to take what's out there, and it may be the case with Swindon and Sheridan. I don't know, but there's going to be some weird manoeuvres this season, I think.
Well, I completely agree. And I know we focus when we do these on League One and Two, but a prime example is the weird situation going on at Derby. Obviously, they sacked the manager. Rooney seems to take charge, and then out of nowhere, Big Sam's coming in to take over. I'm not sure that's official or if anything's happened there or not yet, but that was the rumour I was hearing earlier this week. So I agree. I think there'll still be a fair few interesting changes throughout the Football League. One of the big changes that I wanted to discuss with you both is the introduction, if you like, of the 5 sub rule at our level. For me, I think anyone who follows my social media will know I'm not a fan. Call me a traditionalist, call me sort of anti-modern football, dinosaur, whatever you like. When I look at it, I don't really see the need for 5 subs, and I get that there are players, particularly higher up the ladder, where it's becoming a prominent discussion point. But even if you look at the very top, they want to make 5 subs, but they don't make the 3 they've got now. And even at most games at our level in Leagues 1 and League 2, it's not every game you make 3 subs. You normally make all 3 subs, for example, if you're winning comfortably or you're losing and you need to try something different. If a game is in the balance, if it's 1-1, for example, the managers aren't suddenly throwing on subs unless they're almost certain it's going to make an impact. So, Connor, I'll ask you first. What do you think of the 5 sub rule?
I think it favours the bigger clubs, really, because I think we get some sort of advantage out of this, because like when we've got players like Mo Issa sitting on our bench who can't get a game at the minute, and if we're 2-3-0 up, we can take off Dembele, we can take off Clark Harris, and we can throw on Mo Issa just for some game time. But then I'm also split on the side of, if it can get some younger players an opportunity, then I see it as a good thing. If we can get some legs into Flynn Clark this season because we've got 2 extra subs, then that would be brilliant. But again, I think it favours those with the stronger squads. So I think in League One, your Peterboroughs, your Sunderlands, your Ipswiches, they're going to get an advantage out of it rather than your Northamptons, your Rochdales, your Bristol Rovers. So I'm not fully for it, to be honest, but there is a part of me that's like, if we can get it to blood youth into the game, then I don't think it's a bad thing.
Si?
I think what Colin says is very true. It's in now, so clubs will use it to what advantages they can. We're quite lucky; we've got a strong bench, and again, our bench seems to be very attack-minded. So, minus again Exeter, we don't mention that. The other games we've played, we have been very able to put attacking players on, like subs, etc., to make it to our advantage. One thing I do find sad, if you like, the fact that it's been integrated by the Premiership and the higher divisions. Championship's always been the classic of, they're used to playing Saturday, Tuesday. That's how the Championship's been. That's been part of the parcel of being the Championship. You've got the games ticking fast. But when you've got managers like Klopp, Pep, etc., saying it, it's like, I'm not being funny. If someone's going to offer me £120,000 a week, I'll go and play 2 90-minute games of football a week, quite happily for them. And I'll sit and do my recovery. I'll sit and do that side of it. They're athletes. It's their chosen sport. I don't think it's as bad as they're making it out to be. And if it's to do with muscle injuries or strains, stuff like that, well, the Championship's been doing it for years. League One, League Two have been doing it for years. Back in the 80s, 90s, they had just so many games. They had 1 sub, 2 sub, 3 subs. Not so. I think it's almost becoming a bit of an excuse. Oh, it's the fixture congestion. We're tired with this. Well, is it, or is it on our management, or is it the fact that maybe you're not resting players properly or training to intent or whatever they're doing, and you can't expect players to demand, and managers at that rate at the top, to demand all this money, and yet as soon as it gets difficult or they've got to their job of managing their squads, they're very quick to cry off. And bear in mind, the top teams don't take FA Cup seriously, don't take EFL Cup seriously, and play weakened squads there. So unless you're in Europe, they're only really concentrating on the Premiership, which takes out a bulk of the games.
Two of the things you said there I find quite interesting. I know, obviously I don't know a lot of professional footballers, of course, but I know from what you see on social media or from some of former pros that I've managed to speak to in the past, and I've spoken to more regularly and more recently, you don't hear the players complaining about playing these games as they are. I can't think of a player that's come out and said, I'm really tired, I need a rest. You look at, you gave a good example of Man City, their side. You don't hear De Bruyne coming out saying he's tired. You hear Pep saying De Bruyne needs a rest. But what he doesn't point out is that he's the one that picks De Bruyne for every game. And yet you've got the likes of Foden, Silva, Mahrez, just to follow the Man City example, who are maybe playing 1 in every 4. So give him the rest if he's tired, because you've got a squad littered with stars. I could almost understand it more at our level, because generally speaking, unless you're one of the bigger sides, maybe like a Peterborough, for example, who do potentially on paper have a few more luxuries at their disposal, you've kind of got your first 11 and what's behind them maybe isn't quite so good. So you can almost understand it more. But even then, I don't think there's necessarily a need for it, because like you say, these players have all grown up playing, like the ones in the Football League have grown up playing Saturday, Tuesday. They're used to it. The Championship are used to playing Saturday, Tuesday. And even to an extent, like you say, most Premier League teams are used to it because of Europe and because of internationals. It's not like they're playing suddenly all these more games. Yes, they're crammed in a little bit more, but it's not like they're playing every other day. It's not like they're being asked to play 3 or 4 times a week. It's generally twice a week. So, like I say, I'm not a fan, personally.
I think as well, just on that one, regards to the Premiership, the high level, they're very quick to take the money from the TV, very quick to take all the broadcasting rights, etc. But now the TV, obviously, the broadcasters are getting to blame the fact that Liverpool, for example, have got a 12:30 kickoff tomorrow. That's one of Klopp's big things at the moment. It's like, well, I'm pretty sure you're quite happy to invest all the money you get from there, A, in your salary and B, your squad. But now they're expecting something back for that. They're sort of pushing back at systems. So, yeah, it is. I think it is just people almost making noises and excuses why they can, because they can.
I think you got to say, what does the 5 subs rule do for your clubs like Southend and even Wigan, who don't have the squads to make 5 subs anyway? Southend couldn't field a team on Tuesday. Then what good 5 subs going to do? They haven't got the players for it.
That's exactly right, in my opinion. One final thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is obviously the news outside of football that is affecting football, and that is the end of Lockdown 2.0, the start of, I suppose they don't want to call it Lockdown 3.0, they're calling it the 3-tier system. We spoke before the recording started. Swindon are in tier 2. Unfortunately for me, I live in Leicester, so we're tier 3. Where you both live, I believe you're both tier 2, so fans allowed back in. I have two sort of questions for you on this. One, how good is it that there will be the possibility to go again? And the side note to that is what do you know yet what your clubs are doing about it? The second, can you already foresee issues and complaints and other things, particularly again from managers? A prime example, Swindon are playing away at Oxford. It's our big derby of the season tomorrow. And because we're still technically in lockdown 2.0, there'll be no fans there. I'm obviously hoping and praying we get the win. We need it for more than just the 3 points. But when it comes to us playing them at home, all things being well, and, short of the government making strange decisions, we will be allowed fans in. So if we get the 2 wins, is there a valid complaint? It's because we had fans there and they didn't for the home game. Connor, I'll start with you on fans being back.
Yeah, possibly. I think our first game is actually the EFL Trophy or Papa John's Trophy, whatever it's called, this week, against West Ham under-21s. And normally that game would pull in a very low crowd anyway. But I think for the first time ever, there'll be a clamour for those sorts of tickets. So that one, we're actually going to, I say we're probably not going to make a profit of it, but we're going to make some money on it because we're selling the tickets to it. But for a club like us, for example, we only have, I think it's about 3,500 season ticket holders this year. So it might be easy for us just to say, okay, 2,000 come in one week, the other 2,000 come in the next week, and just rotate it like that. For bigger clubs, how do you decide if you've got 20,000 season ticket holders or something like Sunderland might have? How do you decide which 2,000 are going to go in? But I think there's going to be an advantage. Obviously, there's rumours about the government saying that fans can't shout and sing and cheer and all this at games, which I think good luck trying to stop anyone doing that.
Well, yeah,
but
I was going to say that.
There'll be an advantage of if you're at home and you've got 2,000 fans there in a local derby, you're going to get a small advantage. I know it won't be the same as having a full house there, but you've still got 2,000 people cheering you on from the sidelines, and there's always going to be an away team's disadvantage with that. And I think we'll start seeing more home wins in those tier 2 areas when it actually comes in.
Do you agree with that assessment, Si?
Yeah, I think it's quite a fair one to make. Any team that's got 1 fan, 2 fans, however many fans, you're always going to have that advantage because the players will pick up on the energy, the shouts, the cheers, the disappointment, the groans, because it's human nature to do that. We're quite lucky that even we're only with 2,000 people allowed in. That's pretty much 3/4 of our normal gates taken care of anyway. What we're planning on doing for Grimsby game is only a maximum of 1,000 people, and they're using that of what the club did when they put their season tickets on sale was had a bit of a tier system of how you could buy them, and each season ticket or season permit, as they called it this year, came with a number, and then your number relates to whether you're allowed in or not. So, for example, if 1,000 people are in, tickets number 1 to 1,001 can come in. Anybody above can't. If it's 1,500, 1, 1,501, etc., etc., like that. So I'm quite glad. I've got my season tickets are 31, 32, 33, and 34. So I'm pretty confident that I'll be going. I absolutely can't wait. I've missed football, missed going. I know people say you could have gone to the league, but it's not the same as supporting the actual club I want to. And it's been a massive eye-opener for me of just how much of my life football takes up. Obviously, I can't do the away games at the moment, sadly, but just being able to go, even, God forbid, I have got to sit there in silence with a mask on. To me, that's going to be better than sitting behind my iPad with iFollow. So it's only got to be for the good. I don't think managers are going to moan too much. Well, I think they won't, because they'll understand that football is just important to have fans in. I think if managers are saying, "Oh, we lost because they had 1,000 home fans," yeah, it's an excuse, they can use it. But at the same time, it's not. They've got to look almost the bigger picture of football is about the fans, and any fans is better than no fans.
I completely agree. Listen, lads, it's been an absolute joy having you on this evening. Thank you very much. one last thing before we finish. I think you said earlier, Si, that you haven't got a game this weekend because of your lack of cup exploits, much like Swindon. As I said, we've got Oxford, and I'm not going to make a prediction. I'm just praying that we win. It'll mean everything. I'll be honest. I was very concerned until we beat Bristol Rovers last weekend. Yes, I know we lost midweek, but the fact that we won a local game before going into the Oxford game gives me just that glimmer of hope. Connor, am I right thinking you've got FA Cup action this weekend?
Yeah, we've got Chorley on BT Sport because I suppose it was top tier, top ranked team in the competition against one of the lowest. So that'll be interesting.
Quick prediction from you?
Well, Fergie says he's going strong because he felt like we made too many changes in the last round and it disrupted, and he felt that was to blame for our 2 defeats following. So he reckons we're going to go for a full team against Chorley. So if so, I'd like to hope 3 or 4, but you never know with us. It depends which posh turn up.
Well, good luck at the weekend. Enjoy your weekend off, Si. Thank you both again for joining, and I hope to see you again next month as we carry on the review and we look ahead to what will be the January transfer window already. Seems to have come along quickly. Thank you guys, and good night.
No problem.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
All the best. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.